Today, I'm going to share with you the objection handling paradox, which I created, which is contrarian to the way that all of us have learned objections. As a matter of fact, this is completely a 180 from everything you've been taught about objection handling. And just to prove to you this works, I used this in one of my own agencies last week and collected 5K in a single day, and I actually just used this in one of my other agencies, and we collected a 3.6K PIF in one day. Okay, so here's the deal. Most people view objection handling like this, like Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fighting. It's combative, right? It's back and forth. It's I punch you, you punch me, I slip, you, right? It's this back and forth. No, I need to think about it. You can't think about it. I want to think about it. I need to talk to my partner. You can't talk to your partner. Why do you want to talk to your partner? It's just all this fighting, right? You're going back and forth, yada, yada, yada. And what ends up happening is one of you gets knocked out, typically speaking, right? Or one of you actually throws in the towel and gives up, and guess what? The sale goes nowhere. That doesn't work. As a matter of fact, that whole approach to objection handling is why it's so difficult, is because you view objections as personal. You feel that when someone gives you objection, it's a personal attack on you. Well, it's not. And I'm going to reframe this and explain this to you so next time you get an objection, you can approach it from a totally different lens, where instead of it feeling like a boxing match, it feels like a dance. It feels easy, it feels smooth, it feels calm, it feels almost as if there's not much pressure, there's not much resistance. You feel almost as if you're helping this person, which is what objection handling should be. So if that sounds kind of interesting, listen up, because I'm going to change your entire perspective on the way you view objections. All right, and we're going to get into some scripts and some sauce later, but let me actually full screen myself and just explain this concept to you. So here's the deal. A lot of people view objection handling as this fight, right? And so what happens is when someone gives an objection, they take it personally. They feel like it's an attack on them, attack on their character, attack on their product or service, and they get very butthurt, right? And so what happens is we then get in this almost defensive state where we're like, wow, why would you have to think about it, right? We may not say that, but we may think that. What is there to think about? It's just yes or no, right? Here's the deal. Is if you view objection handling that way, you've already misconstrued the entire concept of objections. Because typically speaking, when someone gives you an objection, they're not saying no to you and your service. They're saying, no, I'm not able to make a decision. And simply put, your job on a sales call is to help somebody come to a decision. Now, whether that's yes or no doesn't matter, but your objective is to help them make a decision. And so when someone gives you an objection, that's actually normal. Like that happens more often than not, right? Because people have a hard time making decisions, especially big decisions that may change the course of their life. And so what I want you to do, okay, and this is where I'm going to explain this. Let me make myself a bit bigger. Is the next time you get an objection, instead of thinking that it's personal, which it's not, think of it as, oh, okay, I'll even draw this out for you. Oh, this person, okay, or this person, let's say this is the person, this is your prospect, okay? This is prospect. Your prospect is having trouble making a decision. It is your job as the man in this dance to lead them and guide them and help them make a decision. And so you wouldn't get mad at your prospect if they kind of move the wrong way. You'd say, hey, that's not a problem. We're just going to continue to move this way. Because once again, you're trying to help them make a decision. And in order to do that, you have to understand. So let's get deep here and let me really explain this. So when someone gives you an objection, okay, it is them basically saying, hey, this thing is stopping me from making a decision. I need you to help me fix it. And so the way I approach objection handling, and I'll actually say this on the call, is when someone gives you an objection, the first thing you always say is not a problem. Okay, and we say that to diffuse the sales pressure, right? No matter what objection. It could be, I need to talk to my fish. Hey, not a problem. And you gotta say nonchalant, well, yeah, it's not a problem at all, right? Because that diffuses the sales pressure and it lowers their guard because they're so used to having this sort of objection handling. It be so combative, right? They just said, oh, I need to talk to my fish, which is the equivalent of them throwing a jab, right, or a hook, whatever. And then they're expecting you to come back and throw a hook as well, or throw a body shot, right? So they're getting ready, their guard is up, right? But will you just say, hey, that's not a problem, and put your hands back, put your hands down. And what's gonna happen is they're gonna lower their hands. They're going to lower their guard. And then you can have a conversation with them. So don't go in and then, hit them with a 2 and a straight hook. You don't want to do that, right? You want to be calm, right? So, but hey, not a problem. Okay, diffuse the sales pressure so you can have a conversation. Because once again, objection handling is just trying to help someone make a decision. And that's what we're trying to do. But in order to make a decision, we need them to lower their guard so we can actually talk things through with them. Okay, so in this scenario, when someone gives objection, not a problem. Okay, and what I say to them after that is, my goal here is not to get you to do something you don't want to do. So if at any point you feel that I'm making you do something, or pushing you towards a direction that you do not want to go, you tell me, you leave this call, you do whatever you need to do. Is that clear? And they always respect it. Like, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I said, I want to make that clear because my goal isn't to get you to do something you don't want to do. But based on our conversation and based on everything we talked about, it sounded like you really would want to do this thing, right? Let me pull this up. You really would want to go through with this program. You really would. You said this thing would really help you. And so my job here isn't to get you to do something you don't want to do, but I'm more just trying to help you make a decision that pushes you in the direction that you do want to go. And so I guess I just want to confirm this is a direction you want to go. And they'll typically, yeah. Right? Okay, cool. Okay, I just want to make sure that's clear. Right? And so why we say that is I want them to know I'm on their team. Right? Because for a lot of people, like, sales is just getting on the same side as the table. Right? And so let's say you have a table here and you're sitting here and your prospect is sitting here. Most people view sales this way. Right? They're sitting on the opposite side of the table. What I want you to do is bring your chair here and sit with the prospect. Sit on the same side of the table as them. And so how you should view objection handling is not like this. Okay, what most people view objection handling as is one person is sitting here, and then there's the table, and the other person is sitting here, and they're going back and forth about the objection. Right? And they're making the objection this one big thing, and they're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. How I want you to view objection handling is the prospect sitting here. Okay, you're sitting here with them, and across the table is the objection. And you guys are trying to work together as a team, okay, to solve this objection. Because the way I see it, I'll even demonstrate this on calls. I'll be like, hey, this is us, okay? We're two happy stickmen here, okay? This is the goal where you want to go. Right now, this thing, right, in this case it would be the objection, is a big boulder stopping us from getting there. So my goal is trying to figure out how can we get rid of this so we can get you over here to the goal as fast as possible. I'll even demonstrate this and show this to them sometimes to illustrate how I view this, right? And what happens is when they understand that you care about them and that you're not trying to handle the objection to get them to buy, but to help them make a decision that's going to push them closer to their goal, guess what? They open up. They'll be collaborative. They'll invite you in because guess what? They understand that this objection, they don't want it either. Like, you got to understand, when someone gives an objection, they don't want that objection. They want to make a decision. They want to know, am I going to do this thing, yes or no? And so they need your help to make that decision. But it's hard when you're doing this, when you're throwing punches at each other. It's difficult. It's easy when you start to dance, which is why I want you to literally, like, physically, metaphorically, spiritually, doesn't matter, put yourself on the same side of the table and let your prospect know that, hey, we're a team in this together, and my goal is trying to figure out how we can solve this to get you to here. Okay? Now, there's one prerequisite to this, which is you just have to make sure they believe in your service. Okay? And so when you get an objection, right, doesn't matter, think about it, partner, money, doesn't matter. When you get objection, once again, always say, not a problem, right? Hey, that's not a problem. Don't worry about it, okay? And then in your own opinion, right, so in your own opinion, right, objection aside, in your own opinion, right, partner aside, in your own opinion, right, like thinking about it aside, money aside, whatever, right, in your own opinion, do you feel like this actually could get you to that insert goal? Right? And do you really feel like this could actually get you to 20K a month? Right? And if they say no, well, now the problem is they don't even believe in the service. So the objection to handle is the fact that they don't believe. So you got to handle that. But if they say yes and you can tell they mean it, you're like, okay, gotcha. And why do you feel it is? Like, why do you feel like this is actually, out of all the things you've looked at, right? Because I'm sure this isn't the first thing you've looked at or tried. Out of all the things you've looked at, why do you feel like this is the one that's going to get you there? Right? And then they're going to talk why they feel it's going to get them there. I go, okay, gotcha, I appreciate that. And so when you do go think about it, right, or when you do whatever, I guess, like, what's coming up that's making you hesitate on this decision? Well, it's just because most people, for context, most objections people give are just fear-based. They're not actually like logistical-based objections. They're just fear-based. And so you use this framework to get past the fear-based objection to get to the actual root of the objection. right? Because fear comes first, and then typically every other objection follows. And so, like, they're scared to make a decision. Why? Well, I'm just not totally sure if it's going to work. Okay, right? I'm not sure if it aligns with my finances. Well, it doesn't matter. Whatever objection they give, like whatever the real objection is, you can say to them, hey, that's not a problem. I appreciate you being open and honest. And then what you do is, once again, refer back to this. My goal is to work with you to get you to make a decision, whether it's yes or no, it doesn't matter, to get you to make a decision on what's going to get you closer to your goal. So based on what you just said about, you feel like this could get you to $20K a month, I believe that this will get you here, and you do too, right? And I feel the thing that's stopping us from getting there is this problem. Is you're not sure if it's going to work. Is this. And so my goal is trying to figure out how can we work together, okay, to get rid of this. And what will happen is they'll oftentimes solve the objection for themselves here. Right? I say, what do we need to do together to get rid of this? And typically they realize it's just up to them to make a decision. They're like, I just need to make a decision. Now, granted, this is obviously in a perfect hypothetical where that's not always good how it's going to happen, but you can see how much more pleasant your conversations are when you approach objection handling this way, right? It's like, hey, we are a team working together. Like, literally work with your prospect to solve the objection. One side an objection, I don't have the finances to make it work. I go, dude, I said, that's the biggest problem for making this decision. He's like, yeah. I'm like, dude, we can squash that right here. We can figure that out, no problem. That's the easiest thing to solve. He's like, what? I was like, yeah, dude. Right? Because I was selling an upfront PIF, right? And I was like, what if I was able to just break it down so that way you could split the payment up over the next couple months, and that way it wasn't so taxing on the front end? Would that work better with your finance? He's like, dude, you could do that for me? I was like, of course I could. Boom, paid on the call. Because once again, he didn't feel like I was trying to close him to take his money. He felt like I was trying to help him. And he viewed this, us as a team. And so I said, hey man, yeah, dude, I could totally help you out. He was like, oh, he's helping me solve the problem, not giving me more problems. See, because most people, they view objection handling this way, to fight back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. They take it so personally. You want to start dancing with your prospect. Be slow, be gentle, be kind. Right? Don't be so aggressive. When someone gives an objection, chill, take a breath. It's not personal. Has nothing to do with you. Literally nothing to do with you at all. Has zero to do with you. Right? It's all in the prospect's own mind. It's all up here. Has nothing to do with you. And so you as the leader, like literally, you're the one leading on the sales call, right? Like you're the one that's actually like, taking control of the call, etc. Needs to be like, hey, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Right? That's not a problem at all. Let's find out how we can solve this issue together. And when you approach objection handling that way, you can throw a half of your objection handling frameworks because they don't apply anymore because you won't need them. Because objection handling will come easy to you. Because all you have to do is when you get objection, view it as, hey, how can I help this person? Here's what I want you to do, okay? Let me full screen this. Next time you get given an objection, I want you to say in your mind this, right? Oh, it's funny to think about it. You think in your mind, how can I help this person overcome this trouble, this obstacle, and help them make a decision? Simple as that. Just ask yourself that question, and you'll say the right words. You'll have the right whatever, and you will realize that objection handling becomes so much easier when you view it this way. Okay? And so what I really want you to take away and apply from this, right? I want to make sure you're able to apply stuff from this video, is that when you get objections, remember, they're not personal attacks on you. They're the prospect having an inability to make a decision, and it's your job as a sales guy to help them make a decision and to work with them, not against them, to help them make a decision. And granted, if that decision is no, that's totally fine. But the point is, your job on the sales call is to get someone to decide. Okay? It is to get them to decide. Now, whether that's yes or whether that's no, doesn't matter. This is not up to you. Okay? This is not up to you, but this is. If someone doesn't give you an answer, that's your fault. If they say no, I would argue that's not even your fault. Or granted, I'm sure you can get better, but at least you help them decide. At least you help them come to the conclusion and say yes or no. That is your goal in the sales call, is just get them to decide. Get them to say yes or no at the end, right? And if you want them to get them to say yes, you have to find out what is their problem, right? That's stopping them from getting to the goal, and how can we work together, okay? Together to solve this issue. This is like, I should give this as relationship advice. This is something me and my girlfriend talk about, right? Is once again, here's some relationship advice for you, which actually applies to sales. My girlfriend will love this. Okay? When there is a problem, in a relationship or on a sales call, a lot of people view it as, oh, it's me versus you. And they totally forget about the problem and they just start fighting and bickering back and forth. Well, you didn't take out the trash. Well, you didn't do this. Well, you didn't do that. You got to remember, in a relationship and on a sales call, you guys are one, right? You guys are together. You are on a team, right? And you're never going to win a hockey game if two of your team members are shooting on the own net the entire time and you guys are going against each other. You're never going to win a game that way. Right? That doesn't make any sense. And so in order to win, in order to solve these problems, you have to look at it as it's us versus the problem. And I mean this for relationships, and I mean this for objection handling too. Right? When the prospect gives an objection, when there is a problem that is stopping you guys from moving forward, instead of freaking out and be like, oh my goodness, me versus you, how dare you say no to my product, and then start bickering back and forth and start fighting, right? Metaphorically fighting with words, verbally fighting with each other, right? Having this back and forth, sometimes it gets really heated. Stop, pause, and go, hey, we're on a team. It's us versus the problem. And like you can literally say this. Say this to your girlfriends, right? Say this to your boyfriends if you're a girl watching this. Say this on your sales calls. Is, hey, that's not a problem at all, right? That's not a problem. How can we work through this together to solve this issue, right? Because this issue is stopping us from getting to goal. This issue is stopping us from having a happy relationship. How can we work through this together as a team to solve this problem to get to this desired outcome? That's it. It's so simple. Man, if I should just become a dating coach at this point. Right? But this is it. Us versus the problem. Okay? We're a team. It's not me versus you. Right? It's us versus the problem. And when you view it this way, people will be collaborative. People will be open. People won't, like, what happens is when you frame it this way, when you actually in your head mentally view the objection handling as this sort of framework, what happens is now you're able to work through things with the prospect because now the prospect will open up. Now they'll actually talk. Now instead of just fighting back and forth and screaming at the top of your lungs, you guys will sit down and actually problem solve. And then you'll be able to come to a decision and decide. It's so beautiful, right? It's so beautiful. This is why I recommend all of you start viewing objection handling as a dance. As a dance between you and your prospect. You guys are dancing together, right? And sometimes one person gives a bit more and sometimes the other person, right? Sometimes you have to lead a little bit, right? Sometimes they might lead a little bit, right? But more often than not, let's say if you're the man in this picture, you're the one leading, you're the one kind of guiding, right? But once again, a dance isn't just one way, so it's not always that way. Sometimes the prospect, sometimes the lady is gonna move because dancing is working together. Dancing is working together. So is relationships, so is objection handling. So stop trying to fight back and forth and dodge each other's punches and hit each other in the face. Work together simultaneously as one unit. Like, literally think of this. These people are like, they're in one body. If like, I know that doesn't make any fucking sense, but like, when they move together, right? When the guy moves this way, the girl moves that way. They move together. Boxing is the total opposite. When you move this way and throw the punch, the other guy slips, right? Like, it's the total opposite. It's the total opposite. And so you've got to view objection handling in sales and relationships this way, as a dance, us together, instead of this fight back and forth where you're trying to like dodge. Alrighty? So, I know this has been an entire huge ramble of words and crazy little stickman drawings, but I just want to drill this point home because I think if more people understood this objection handling kind of framework and paradox that I made up, not only would sales become more fun for you and for your prospect, you would make more money, but I think more people would be happier. Because once again, objection handling is helping someone decide. And oftentimes a lot of people don't close because the sales guy, the closer, doesn't know how to get them to decide. And guess what? They're now missing out on getting to their goal. They may now continue to have this problem that they have, right? Simply because the sales guy cannot get them to decide. And you don't want that, right? You don't want to let your prospects keep suffering just because you weren't able to help them come to a decision. That's why it's your job as the sales guy, as the closer, as whatever, right, to help this person make a decision. Once again, it doesn't matter if it's yes or no. Just help them decide. And you help them decide, right, by being on their team and solving the problem together. Okay? And so if we go back to this framework, last couple things here, right, like, whatever the objection is, like if they throw a partner objection, instead of getting like, oh, blah, 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 partner, be like, hey, right, that's not a problem, right? In your own opinion, like, I guess just before you do go talk to your partner, do you feel like we can get you to the goal? Once again, we just do this to make sure they actually believe, right? Because if they do believe, then you can actually handle objection, right? And that's like, sweet, Okay. Well, my goal in here isn't to try and get you to do something you don't want to do. My goal here isn't to try and get you to screw over your partner, right, and cause commotion in the house, right. And my goal here is only to get you to make a decision that's going to push you closer to your goal, make you happier, and get rid of all the problems we talked about earlier today, right. And so I guess with that being said, do you feel like this decision would get you there? Yes. I said okay. Then I don't view this as, this being a problem you have to go talk to your partner. But what I want to figure out is how can we work together, right, to figure out, let me find the right word, how can we work together, right, to solve this issue so we can get here. What is it specifically that you want to talk to your partner about? You can go use this exact objection handling framework, right? When you do go talk to your partner, do you feel they would want you to get to X, Y, Z? Right, for you and your family. Yes, they would. Okay, so in that capacity, this is directly from Bill Walsh. In that capacity, when you do go talk to your partner, what do you feel would be the potential obstacles to something similar to this that may have stopped her, him, whatever, from moving forward in the past? All right? And once again, just work together with the prospect. Work with them to help them solve the problem. Right? They don't want to have the objection of, oh, I want to talk to my partner. They want to make a decision. So it's your job to help them do that, and you can do that by dancing with your prospect, not fighting. All right? So that's it for this entire huge masterclass on this objection handling paradox that I hope you can now implement and apply and close more deals. So do me a favor, comment down below your biggest takeaway. Gives me some good feedback on stuff I should make some more videos about, and lets me know I did a semi-decent job explaining this concept to you all. Other than that, have a beautiful, fantastic day, and go watch some more of my videos. I have cool videos like this everywhere.